Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video, I go through the RSI Mantis Q&A, which is a post dedicated to answering our questions in regards to the RSI Mantis and quantum enforcement. First question being, will other ships be able to fit an interdiction device inside them? And they say in the future, yes. So when available, they will be able to be equipped via the utility port, but they just won't be as powerful as the units that are built into ships such as the Mantis, which kind of says there's going to be other ships that are dedicated QED ships. It says they may also be used by various AI ships and security forces as well. This is a very interesting concept. So nearly any ship with a utility port might have the option for having a quantum enforcement device. Whether it can do what this Mantis can do is another thing, if there's different types of quantum enforcement. And obviously it won't be as strong as the Mantis on its own. Next question is, will we gain a criminal stat for pulling people or criminals out of quantum travel? Now they say it will be illegal to use a QED within certain jurisdictions, though it won't affect the crime stat at the release of the Mantis, so for 3.7. But this does say that other areas, like some areas of the verse, as we know, is that their laws are divided depending on where you are. So like Stanton, for example, will have its overall law. There'll be localized laws and jurisdictions as well, and there might be places where using a QED is okay. Next question is, why would the UEE allow such a ship to be sold to civilians if interdiction devices are illegal? Now this is something that's been on my mind, is if we're not allowed to use them, why would they allow RSI to even develop the ship? Now they say just like how civilians have access to heavy offensive weaponry, we have access to quantum enforcement devices for personal protection and for use in careers which support the advocacy and the Navy. The intended use is with a security force or defending a homestead from pirates. So it does sound like there is going to be a lot of grey areas to how and where and when you can use this, and this will probably get more established later down the line as they develop the reputation and the law system a bit more. What will be the counter to this feature? Now, one balance is that the Mantis will require a lot of power to use the quantum enforcement device, which means other systems like shields, thrusters and weapons will have to go down. It also means that there's a long cooldown period in between using the snares, for example, so you can't just keep popping them on and off as you see fit. There will also eventually be greater restrictions around green zones and increased law enforcement patrols to mitigate its overuse, so they do have plans to stop it being used in a trolling or grieving fashion. Longer term, they say, are plans to give players the chance to escape quantum interdiction by dynamically adjusting their quantum drives, and the example that they said is adjusting the velocity, which in turn would require the interdictor to adjust their behaviour. Now I'm wondering if this means that it could be to do with the overclocking of components, but what I would love to see is the ability to maybe have a single-use subcomponent that you can put into your quantum drive, which allows you to pass through a quantum snare, blowing the subcomponent but still allowing you not to get stopped. And then if you want to replace it, you can do, but if you don't, then the next time you are caught in a snare, you will be stopped. I think that would be a very good way of adding the balance. I'm not sure what they mean by adjusting the velocity of a quantum drive, but this could just have a lot to do with the engineering mechanic, which we are yet to see. Now the next question is, do you plan on adding blind jump to aid in avoiding quantum enforcement? Now they say while they have plans to create safer routes, it isn't going to be scheduled with the release of the Mantis, but connecting existing quantum nav points is the best method for avoiding some traps. So again, there's no real say as to whether we're going to get blind jumps or not. CIG don't know by the sound of things, and it does sound like they're more on the we're not side of things. But a way to get away from the snares is maybe to jump the long-winded way round, which takes more time, costs more fuel, but is likely safer. Will there be PvE with the Mantis? And they say that yes, if you could be interdicting passing AI ships, it won't just be players. Anyone that gets caught in the snare will be stopped. And when 90% of the actual population is going to be AI, the chances are you're more likely going to stop NPCs than you will players anyway. Now, someone asked if interdiction gameplay is complete or will there be more iteration. Kind of a silly question, but the first implementation of any mechanic is never its last. It's always subject to change. What we see and experience in 3.7 is an early version of quantum enforcement and the Mantis, and will definitely be improved and iterated on over the time. They actually said they intend to bring these improvements in quickly, and they include more aggressive law enforcement responses to the activation of such devices in prohibited areas, law enforcement dialogue related to various infractions, so the AI talking to you, dialogue to support a variety of NPC character types that have been pulled from quantum travel, so people that you pull out of quantum travel. A larger area of interdiction, so I'm not sure if that means a bigger radius. I think it was said 20 to 30,000 meter radius for the snare. Whether that's increasing or if it's the dampening of 2,000 meters, we will see. Improved tracking of ships that have been pulled out of quantum travel. We know they want to include a full UI suite to allow us to get more information on what ships we're trapping and so on. And then also mission content involving interdiction and dampening, so having actual game-driven missions that will require a Mantis. Someone asked if an EMP could disrupt the interdiction bubble. Now they say that it can't affect the bubble or the snare itself, but it can stop the Mantis's power plant long enough to prevent the quantum enforcement device from functioning. So you will need to be close to the Mantis and not just sort of catching the snare, but catching the ship itself for it to work. What does the quantum enforcement device cost in terms of fuel, energy drain, crime stat and time and so on? Now the quantum enforcement device requires a lot of energy and generates a lot of heat as well, so it's definitely not going to be stealthy. When ready, crime stats will increase and the law will come after you to some degree as well. Final question, will there be a size limitation to what ships the Mantis can stop? Now in the first implementation, the Mantis will be able to stop any ship of any size, even if it's like 5 890 jumps coming through. But as they iterate on the feature and develop more versions of the QEDs, they'll determine the QED to quantum drive size balance, so what size quantum drive will be affected by what size quantum enforcement device. Now this is good. Requiring larger or multiple QEDs to stop larger ships will encourage more organised gameplay, and that should be really exciting, coordinating together. Now there was a few other points. One of them is it has no cargo capacity. The quantum enforcement device cannot fire if the Mantis is parked within another ship. The quantum enforcement device blast also affects the Mantis's quantum drive. The cooldown on the QED will likely take several minutes as part of the balancing. It has a bed and a toilet for long duration flights, and the snare and dampener will affect anyone in your vicinity, be it a friend or a foe. Anyway, that was it for the Q&A. Some really good points. Cleared up a bit of what I was curious about, but there's still some grey areas there, especially involving the law, what is classed as illegal, where is it legal, which I'm sure we'll get more information on as time goes by. Anyway, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Star Citizen content. Follow me over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers Ryan. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.